Take 3. BDF 44 coming at you with another video. I'm sick of talking about the same thing over and over again. I'm at work. Every time I get a video started, they hit me on the radio, ask me to do something. So, when you're not living the dream, you don't really get to sit in a very nice studio and make your video. You just got to do it where you can. That's the life. I don't care. This is just where we're at. But, so today, I am here to talk to you for the third time about the Los Angeles Lakers. So frustrating when you've made many takes. I don't know how people do it. 80, 90 takes. This is take 3, and I'm already tired of talking about this. But the reality is this. Los Angeles Lakers have not really played up to par lately. They're playing the Chicago Bulls right now. I think they're losing that game. I haven't even looked at the score, but I've listened to the chatter. The Lakers have been having had losing habits for the last several games. I think it's at a point where it's like you expect them to lose eventually. You leave the door open for teams long enough and they're going to walk right through that thing. So basically what I was coming to you guys to say was that to follow up by saying I was right. They did drop the last game against the Spurs, and they have some things they need to work out. What I saw down there in the last game, since I did get a chance to watch it, was that the Lakers defense was just terrible. The perimeter defense particularly. Now, I know our best perimeter defenders have been hurt. Even though Caruso came back in that game, he's still not himself, and KCP was still out in that game. I don't know if he played tonight, but San Antonio Spurs just shot us out the gym. They look like the Golden State Warriors, the Dallas Mavericks are old, Phoenix Suns are old. They just really shot the ball at a very high level. And because of it, the Lakers were never able to get a stranglehold on the game. We get a little close, but our defense wasn't good enough to stop anybody, and our offense wasn't good enough to really keep up with them. So I think it gave a lot to the team in terms of having not bulletin board material necessarily, but footage to watch to make the team, kind of learn from their mistakes and things of that nature. I'm hopeful that we'll kind of start making the adjustments necessary for the team to really start playing more cohesive basketball. We do have to still consider the fact that there was no training camp, and without a training camp, without guys getting a chance to really get to know one another early, you got to kind of learn that stuff in the real regular season this year. And, you're seeing a lot of blowouts, you're seeing a lot of injuries and things of that nature. So you just got to bear with the fact that it was a very short off season. With that being said, I do expect the Lakers to get it together. I do expect us to jump through what we're going through right now and kind of find our footing. Coaching staff will learn the talent around us and start developing the plays necessary to make them succeed. And I don't really see much of a concern. What I understand this to be is only half the team back from last year, with very, very different strengths and weaknesses than what that team had. And even though we're considered more talented, we have more talented, naturally talented players. Those players' strengths don't happen to be as seamlessly fitting to the roster that we already have as the guys that we had last year. They just, the pieces just don't quite fit as well just yet. But just like with any team that's new, it takes time to first learn players, develop cohesiveness, and then develop the plays that those players can run based on their strengths and weaknesses. So it's going to take time. I know we don't have a whole lot of time, but this is just how it goes. It takes time for teams to develop who they're going to be. Now, if we start making these same mistakes and start having mental lapses in February and March, it's a different tune I'm going to sing. But as of right now, nah. Guys are playing poorly on the defensive end because they don't have their defensive principles in place yet. Guys aren't really certain about their roles yet, aren't really sure about each other yet. Timing issues and things of that nature just comes with practice, comes with reps. And my concern level is at a zero. I know our team is struggling for our standards. And defensively, we looked about as bad as we've looked in several years yesterday. But at the end of the day, it's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to worry about because we have Anthony Davis and LeBron James. There's nothing to worry about because we have the deepest team in all of basketball. And there's nothing to worry about because we do have players that can hold their own if we happen to run into some injuries offensively. Defensively, we're finding that we need everybody. So I'm hopeful that the Lakers can get involved in a buyout market for some guys. And look at some guys, some centers around the league who may be in some situations that they might want to get out of. I don't know what their contract situation is, but a guy that comes to mind is Al Horford for me. I think he would be a fantastic fit on this team. A guy like Hassan Whiteside. I'm not a Hassan Whiteside fan, but if we can get him for dirt cheap, it would be great to have him on the back of the bench just in case. But he's going to do a lot of sitting if he comes here, just like he's doing a lot of sitting in Sacramento. Players like that. We just need a center who can come in and solidify what it is that we do not have. I respect Marc Gasol's intellect, his basketball prowess, but he's past his prime. He's about ready for retirement. This might be the last year he plays. I like Trez, but Trez is undersized. Trez is not defensive mind. So we just kind of take what he gives us offensively and be happy with it. But we understand that we need to make up for what he doesn't do defensively. And we also know that even though Anthony Davis is one of the premier defenders in basketball, he would prefer not to play the center position. And so even though we now have him under contract for 5 years, so it's not about necessarily giving him everything he wants. At the same time, I do think it's very important that we continue to stay as consistent as possible in keeping him happy. Just because you want to keep this, you want to set the precedent for turning the page on the old Lakers. And you don't want to say, okay, now we got you. Now we can do whatever we want. No, you want guys to be happy once they've signed on the dotted line, not just get happy to sign. You know what I'm saying? If that makes any sense. So that's something I'm looking at as a fan, just how we handle Anthony Davis's desire to not play center. I think we've done a good job, but I think now defensively he's going to have to take on some of them assignments that he was not tasked with taking last year. And I'm concerned that will bring about some injuries or some wear and tear, things of that nature. He doesn't want to bang. We should make sure he doesn't have to. So, yeah, that's what I saw. Talen is continuing to get better and better, but the minutes are inconsistent. And the role doesn't allow him to be as free as he's been in preseason. It's the same thing we did with Kyle Kuzma. It's tough because you look at guys and you say, okay, you give them the ball, you run basic stuff for them, and you let them play to their strengths, and they run amok and they look great. That's why everybody likes Mike D'Antoni, because that's really as simple as he keeps it in his offense. You're a shooter, shoot. We'll run a couple pick and rolls for you. We're going to sprint, and that's it. You're going to get shots up. But what I'm seeing with THT is we're putting him in positions to do specific things, just like Kyle Kuzma. We're putting you here. Now you catch the ball, and you make something happen here, or you do something specific here. You take this particular shot. I don't like those type of plays for those type of players. And I think when you identify that you have one of those players or several of those players on your team who probably play better when they don't have to do too much thinking, you put them in positions to do that. And I'm just looking for our coaching staff to identify that in THT and in Kyle Kuzma and just kind of take the gloves off of them, take the handcuffs off of them. Because I'm seeing us trying to run specific plays for guys that look better when they don't have any plays around for them at all. THT is the kind of guy you give him the ball in the open court and you let him create. You let him do his little dribble, spin moves. You let him do his jump shots. You let him get into attack mode from an ISO space. He's good at that. You start telling him to sit up, set in the corner, and you catch the ball at the top of the key and then take 2 dribbles and shoot a jump shot or take 2 dribbles and pass off. That's taking the strength and the ability to flow away from him and placing him in a position to be a tactical player. And I think that's the mistake that a lot of coaches make in this league. It's like a level of the game that needs to evolve. The understanding that some players play great in those type of situations and not in the freelancing situations. And then there are other players who are the complete opposite. And of course you have players who can do both. So it's a basketball IQ identification type of thing. And once you realize what a guy can do, then you allow him to do what it is that he does. So that's what I want to see more of in regards to THT. Stop putting him in these intricate plays that force him to do specific things. Same thing with Kuzma. Stop putting him in these plays where you have him doing like he's the second or third place the ball goes and like not the last place the ball goes. You know what I mean? Like it's too much thinking. It's too much structure for otherwise freelancing player, for otherwise on the fly type of player. And that's what I noticed THT is and Kuzma. They're artists, particularly in the open court, both of them. They both have a very good jump shot. They both would rather play free. So that's just something I noticed. I don't know if real, actual basketball minds agree with me, but that's just how I see it. What else is there to say? It's plenty. So, if anything, if I've learned anything at all in watching the Lakers this season, is that we're going to have to get better at perimeter defense. That's one of the things that I look at and say, even if we make adjustments with the roster as is, still may not be as good as we need to be. So if we can kind of get another perimeter defender, we miss Avery Bradley, that kind of guy. That's what we need. Just one more guy to play the perimeter while, just to make us that much more deep. Because even though I like THT defensively long term, in the short term, he's still not quite where he needs to be your perimeter defensive second unit guy. He's just not there yet defensively. And that's okay. He's 19 years old. So those are the type of things I'm looking at. Once we start to understand what it is that we need to do, hopefully games like yesterday can teach our coaching staff and our players about ourselves. And once we learn, and devise these plans to fit these guys' strengths, I really don't see anybody beating us. I still feel very confident that we're going to win the championship. And that's pretty much the end of that. But for now, we're struggling. For now, our guys are going through the motions. For now, we look like a little disinterested. For now, guys look a little frustrated. For now, dare I say, guys look a little out of sync in terms of being on the same page. Last year, we had immaculate chemistry, some of the best chemistry I'd ever seen. So I don't expect us to have that type of chemistry again this year. I don't expect us to have that kind of chemistry probably any year. Like, that was the best I had ever seen. So what I hope to see is just this bunch become cohesive. And hopefully guys can continue to want to play with one another. I hope we don't see anything out of LeBron that would kind of insinuate him not being pleased with guys, because we know when times get tough and when guys aren't playing up to the level that he expects them to, you start seeing the clenched fist memes, and you start seeing little secret kind of subliminals that kind of point at his coaching staff or pointing at his players. We didn't see a whole lot from him in his Laker tenure. I hope it doesn't start. I hope guys don't give him a reason to. So that's what I'm looking for. It's just more of the same from last year in terms of building chemistry. And I like what I heard from Schroeder in regards to that. He said that guys are he loves the environment. He loves the fact that guys are looking to speak and play, and I'm paraphrasing, but put as much into chemistry as they do into the game. It's an environment that he enjoys being in, and it's an environment that guys like coming to work every day. So that was encouraging out of our young player. And I think the Lakers got to pay real close attention to his contract situation. I understand that we offered him a deal that he turned down. And, Schroeder's probably, I look at Dennis Schroeder, and I hope I'm wrong, but I get the feeling he's probably just passing through. Remember a guy by the name of Ramon Sessions. That's who this reminds me of. A better version of a Ramon Sessions, not in the way that he plays, but in the sense that the Laker lore just might not be his vibe. You know what I mean? And that's a real thing. We've seen guys leave because they just didn't want to play for the Lakers. They didn't want the responsibility of being purple and gold. They didn't like LA or whatever, and I get the feeling he might be that kind of guy. I'd love to be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But he did say he didn't want to play for the Lakers right before we traded for him. So now he's happy to be here, all this, but he doesn't sign the extension. So I'm thinking maybe this just ain't it for him. If that's the case, I have not made up my mind if I would like to trade him at the deadline or not. And that's under the assumption that he is not resigning. I'm not sure I want to trade him, even if I know he's going to walk away for nothing, because I think he might be that important of a piece for what it is that we'll do this year. You see what I'm saying? You don't want him to walk for nothing, but you definitely want what he brings to the table. And I don't know that you can get back what he brings to the table in a trade involving him. I don't know that you can get back his value, his strengths and weaknesses, or whatever it is that he brings to the table. So, do you want to lose a guy for nothing? 99% of the time you don't. But this might be the 1% time where you say, I'd rather do so than lose him and not get back what he brings to my team. So that's the thing with Dennis Schroeder. My gut is telling me that it's going to take some convincing to get him to stay. As to where other guys like Trez probably, they've been with LA and they want to be here. So, it's not difficult to get him to sign a multi-year deal, and he did. But Schroeder is a bit different. I think Schroeder's looking for a bag. And if he happens to, if we win it this year, that may reinforce his idea of wanting to get that bag even more so. Because now it's like, okay, I got the ring, so I definitely want the money. So I just think Laker fans, I don't know what you guys are going to do, but as for myself, I'm going to embrace the possibility of Schroeder leaving us at the end of the season. And if he does stay, that I am happy. So I'll leave it at that. LeBron James tweaked his ankle in the last game. He was red hot. He was keeping us in it. After he tweaked his ankle, he came back in the game, couldn't hit a shot. These are the type of things that we need to be aware of, because those little injuries can turn into big injuries. Those little tweak of the ankle could turn into a bum knee. So we need to monitor these little knick-knack injuries that guys like LeBron and KCP and Caruso are picking up, because we don't want to get to a point where we're asking guys to play hurt this early in the season. You don't want to get to a point where these little knick-knack injuries start to turn into longer-term injuries, where they roll that ankle again, roll it again, and roll it again. Then all of a sudden you got an injured player trying to run around playing meaningful basketball. So I know LeBron doesn't believe in load management, but I would like him to consider the balance between trying to get in shape and overdoing it and putting himself in that position. So, yeah, that's one thing. Yeah, that's it, man. I could talk about the Lakers all day. You guys know this. But I think I'll cut it here. Thanks for watching. My name is BDF44, and I'm out.